So where we are, Regent Independent College. So for those of you that don't know, it's not actually that new, even though it's new for you. It's been around for 23 years, actually. We're based in the very heart of London. It's a tutorial college, which means that we specialise in A-levels. We don't like to call ourselves small, but we are boutique or niche, which means that we specialise in certain subject areas. So we're not one of the very large state sixth form colleges that offers 40 plus subjects in A-levels. We're quite specialist, and our focus really is in the sciences and the maths area. We have two departments really, which is lower sixth and upper sixth. A-levels are usually a 2-year program, but we offer a 1-year intensive for those that want to resit their A-levels, or for students that are coming from overseas and they've already completed 12 years of education generally, but we have a flexible approach to that. And when Sean meets the students and interviews the students, he talks to them about the best program that is available for them. So we have September and January starts. So our students all started with us last week. The next official start date is January. But because we are boutique, we're niche, we're flexible, we do have continuous enrolment in place. So if students have started already elsewhere at a sixth form college, or they're thinking about what to do now, we will always accept late arrivals as long as they fit into the classes that we have, which is why the individual interview that Sean has with the students is very important. Where we are located, I'm sure you all know London. I'm sure you're all London experts. So we're very close to Oxford Street, Oxford Circus. We're actually on Great Titchfield Street, which is in the very centre of London. Very quiet street, but lots of coffee shops, cafes, etc. around. Even shopping for those that want to do something like that after their classes. All our teachers are great specialists, very experienced, very passionate about their subjects. Again, the value of being in a boutique or niche college is the fact that we know our teachers really well, and we can be quite selective when it comes to recruiting teachers. Having hundreds and hundreds of teachers in one college or institution is always a bit tricky, but because we only have around 10 teachers actually, or slightly less, it's really easy to have team meetings, staff meetings, and Sean very much has open door policy for staff and students, which makes it a very nice place to learn, and teachers just have a great relationship with their students. Again, comparing ourselves a little bit with larger colleges that have 30 in a class, 25 or 30, we're not even close to that. Our maximum is 9. Sean might talk a bit more about the average class sizes at the moment, but we even have some classes with 1 or 2 students in them, with an average at the moment probably of 4 or 5. So great personal attention that the students have with the teachers currently. I've mentioned specialist subjects, so intentionally we do not offer 40 plus subjects. So if you want to take, or offer to students subjects from the full spectrum of A-level choices, that's not what we do. We specialise in sciences and maths, also economics, business studies as well, on demand, but the majority of our students are science and maths, and that's just helps us really stay focused on what the core is at Regent. As well as our normal curriculum and the A-level curriculum, Regent Independent College is part of a wider group, Regent Education Group, and our owner and founder, Dr. Selva Pankaj, has he's written books. Actually, one of them is called Thinking into Character. So all of the pupils and the students at the higher education group go through this program during their curriculum, and it's great in particular for younger people, 16, 17, 18-year-olds. It's all about positive mental attitude, growth mindset, personal fulfillment. So very, as you're studying A-levels in particular, and as you're developing your mind and your character, it's really important to have something almost like co-curricular alongside the A-levels that you do. With regulation and accreditation, all of the A-level colleges are accredited in the UK. ISI is our accrediting body, and the last time they came in, which was a good few years ago, they particularly remarked upon the Thinking into Character program, and that was one of the reasons why we got an excellent rating in the personal growth and fulfillment of the students. They thought it was a wonderful addition to A-level subjects. So that's quite unique for Regent. If you're looking for something that is, unique with any other colleges that you work with, our Thinking into Character curriculum really sets us apart from other colleges. And just there's like five different areas that Thinking into Character looks at, but it's all about your personal growth and your mindset and having a positive mental attitude, not only to your studies, but life outside your studies as well. Fees we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar on the first slide, but actually we do have a number of bursaries and scholarships, academic scholarships. These will always be decided with Sean during the interview stage. We're very keen to have the right kind of student at Regent. And if affordability is an issue for that student, then we will be flexible with that. If we think that they will be, we can add value to their studies and their journey, their academic journey. Where do students go afterwards? Well, I mean, they go all over, as most students do from A-level colleges. As I said, sciences and maths are most of the subjects that we have. So a good few success stories from the last cohort that graduated from Regent have gone on to study medicine-related subjects at Russell Group universities, which we're very pleased about. And we're sure that we'll have some more success with the current group of students. So this is our ISI accreditation that I referred to with the Thinking into Character program. So these are a couple of quotes about their positive attitudes to learning, and highly resilient, develop excellent levels of self-knowledge, confidence, and self-esteem. So you just wouldn't get this in a class of 30 plus pupils, because very often if you've got a quiet student, especially the international students where English isn't their native language, they very often just get a bit lost, or they sit at the back of the classroom. That's not an option at Regent. So we will have very interactive classes, 4 or 5 students in the class. There's nowhere to hide, right? So going through the co-curricular program, which is Thinking into Character, really allows these young people to develop not just the academic knowledge and the skills, but actually something far more significant. And that's what ISI picked up on, which we're very pleased about. So at the end of the presentation, I told you it would be brief. So thank you very much for listening. And if you've got questions or think about things as we go along, let's bring Sean in now, and we'll ask him some questions, and then we'll see. We'll have some time at the end. So Sean, welcome again. Great to see you. So you're quite new at Regent.
I am new. I'm glad you showed the presentation, Steve, so that I could learn a few things too. No, I'm joking. I have obviously prepared myself. I am very new. I just joined Regent about 5 weeks ago, and took over as head teacher of Regent Independent College, and really, I suppose, formally in post just for over a week and a half, because our term just started last Monday. So I'm very new in that sense, but I've got to know things very well. And I'm not new in another sense. I've had a lot of experience. I've been teaching for about 37 years. I've also had senior positions, not just my subject is English, senior positions in schools and colleges. Some of them you may know, so places like, for the broader sort of agent market, places like MPW, London, and also had interactions with MPW Birmingham, MPW Cambridge. So I've worked closely with those. I've recently left a small college in Hampstead, small independent sixth form, in some ways similar to Regent. That was called LSI. It's part of the broader LSI language group. But we were focusing on sixth form teaching there, on A levels as well. I set up at that school and ran it for 7 years, and I'm excited to take over at Regent because in some ways it's familiar to me, but also I think there's a real vision here about how to grow the college, and I want to be part of that vision. We want to grow. Our student numbers are small at the moment. Steve mentioned the small group sizes. I don't think that will change. We still want the small group sizes because we can offer a lot of personal attention to students, but we also want to just grow our numbers. We think we have a very good offering. We want more students to benefit from that offering, to benefit from the personal development program, to benefit from good A-level teaching, to get to good universities. We want more students to be involved in this. Steve mentioned group sizes, maximum group size of 9, so students get a lot of individual attention. Average group sizes are around, I suppose on the average on a whole is about 4 or 5 at the moment. So although I'm new to the school, I've gone into almost every class so far to see how my colleagues are working, to see how the students are getting on. So I've been doing lesson observations, and we will have some, maths and chemistry groups. We've got slightly larger groups there at the moment, 6 or so students. And we do have some groups where it's just one-to-one, but that's working really well too. Steve mentioned the interactive nature. That's evident in all of the classes. So even with, some of our students have just joined us last week. They've only been here just over a week when I was observing lessons, and you can see a good relationship between the teacher and the student has already been established. Students are gaining in confidence, feel that they can ask questions, ask pertinent questions, and that's what they're going to get out of being here. They're going to get a lot of individual attention. They're going to explore their learning. They're going to get help on how to study. I did a lesson observation just before this meeting, and the teacher was giving really good advice and the student was picking up on it, not just on the subject matter, but on how to study. So they were teaching study skills within the lessons. Steve mentioned the range of subjects. We do have a very targeted range of subjects: sciences, maths, economics, business, but we can also offer other things if we have the teacher availability. So we have psychology lessons going on, we have sociology. We had a request this year for philosophy, which we never offered before, but because we had a teacher who could do it, we put that on, and I sat in on the philosophy lesson yesterday, and that was going really well. So we can respond to demand, but we do still expect our core subjects to be the maths and the sciences. Steve, that was quite a long answer, so I think I better stop now and let you ask some other questions.
No, that's great. That's great.
Okay.
It was mostly about your background and where you come from, because I know that you're new to Regent, but you're definitely not new to the industry, and we've worked for the same organisation in the past, haven't we? Another tutorial college. So you're bringing this kind of experience and quality almost with you, I would say, from where you've worked previously, and I think that's really important. So thank you for giving a bit of the background. So can we, as we're an academic institution, we should talk about your education as well.
My education.
What brought you into
into education? Well, started off in a state school in London. I then went on to University of Oxford. The particular college I was at was called Lady Margaret Hall, and I got my degree from there, which was my subject was English language and literature, and I subsequently got the MA from Oxford as well. I then went on to do a PhD. That was awarded by the University of London. My teaching background was originally in EFL, but moved into mainstream English teaching. What brought me into it, I was inspired, I suppose, by English teachers myself when I was younger, and I wanted to do the same. So I got into teaching in that way. I've often, mostly I've worked in small independent schools, not just within our sector, but schools from 11 plus. I've even worked in primary schools, so I've always enjoyed teaching. Alongside my teaching, I'm also a senior examiner. So for people who are not familiar with the English examination system, the government almost like franchise out the running of public examinations to exam boards. And there are 3 main exam boards. Plus, there's another international exam board called Cambridge International Exams. I've actually worked for most of those exam boards and mostly in senior positions. So I've been what they call a principal examiner and also a team leader of exams. So I'm very rooted in the education world.
That's great. I think that external experience is really valuable actually for our pupils as well, that you have, it's not just the experience that you have from working inside colleges, but having external knowledge and experience as well, I think is very helpful. So that's really good that you mentioned that. Thank you. So I have a question about your arriving at Regent, because you've worked for some quite large, prestigious A-level colleges in the past, and you've arrived at Regent, and we are, as I said in my presentation, very, I'm not going to say small because I don't like that word, boutique, and niche. And I remember at the interview stage when we were talking about Regent and what where we want to go to, you really seem to get hold of that kind of vision and that growth that we wanted to do. Yeah. But at the moment, we're on a journey. So why did you come into something much smaller than you've been part of in the past?
Yeah, another term I think, Steve, we might use is bespoke, Regent offers a tailored education. I got a sense from the Regent group as a whole and the owners' close involvement in the college that there was a real dynamism, a vision about the college. And I thought, what attracted me was I thought I could really work well with yourselves and with the owners in delivering what they wanted to, which is high quality, high end A-level college, but also one which adds value to students. So, a lot of independent schools in the UK, they will be very selective. In other words, a lot of the students who go there will already be very good. And in a way, their education is sort of almost been finessed or smoothed out or sort of built upon. Some of our students will not have had that very smooth journey. And what we do with some students, and some of our students will be what we call resit students, so they won't have got grades first time around. So what we're about with some of our students is improving those grades. Other students may not come in with necessarily very high grades, but we will add value. Adding value means you put so much into the students that if they'll get a particular grade, let's say a C grade, if I just talk in letter terms at the moment, if they're coming in on a C grade, we would hope, and they're naturally going, sort of they've always been at about a C grade. Our aim would be to see how they could get a B, first of all. Once they're getting solid Bs, we see how they can get an A, and then we inspire further. The top grade at A levels is called A star. So, and there is a lot of evidence over the many years that Regent Independent College has been running of this value add of students coming in with modest grades and leaving us with very good grades, with a couple of grade at least enhancement. But we do offer for 2-year A-level students, 1-year A-level students, Steve mentioned as well. It's that group that coming in for 1 year where they're resit students where you're improving the grades, so you can see definite measurable improvement in those grades. Also university destinations, I would say, even though we're a boutique, bijou, bespoke college, that we punch above our weight in terms of university destinations. So although there are a relatively small number of students going on to university because we're small in number, they're getting to good universities. And Steve alluded to a few this year. We've got there was a student who went on to medicine at Southampton, another went on to economics at Nottingham. We've got students onto architecture courses, pharmacology courses, and that's from a rather small cohort this year. If you go back over the last number of years, we've got a very good representation of Russell Group universities. Our aim, and my aim this year, is to enhance that profile of students going to Russell Group universities and prestigious courses in particular. I do have a couple, the students who've just joined us this year, a few are medic students, medical aspirants, they want to go to medical school, and they to me look like promising students, and we're going to realise their potential with them as much as we can. Guide them in the right direction, make sure they get the grades they need, help them with their medical interviews, and really make sure that they're in the best position to be offered places. That's just the medical students. We'll do that with other students, of course, too. So our students here get a lot of UCAS advice in addition to the teaching. So we have a dedicated person who looks after their university applications. UCAS, for those of you who don't know, is the university application system in the UK. I also will be helping with UCAS applications. I should mention, while I was at another sixth form college, I wrote a book called Getting into Oxford and Cambridge, a UCAS guide getting into Oxford and Cambridge. So I had to do a lot of research for that book. I had some connections already. But that's just one example of the UCAS expertise we have within our teaching body. Steve mentioned, right at the beginning about having just around about 10 students. That number can expand because we have more teachers that we can call upon to teach a few more subjects. But the fact that the students here know a limited number of teachers very well is a good thing. They feel very well supported by all of the staff. We're a well-equipped college here. It's a nice, spacious college, but it's actually still quite compact. So we see each other around the building a lot. And so far, what I've been doing since the start of term is actually just going around seeing students. We've met students formally, but meeting them informally to make sure that they get to know who we are and that they can come to us if they need extra help.
Good, thank you. And I remember that book because I was working at the same college, wasn't I, shortly after you, and that book was on my shelf actually in my office along with some other of the getting into. So it was even after your departure.
That was my legacy.
Being used. Your legacy, your name was still there. Yeah, so we'll get you writing a book at Regent at some point, I'm sure.
Okay, I mean that's one thing to look forward to in the near future, I think. Yeah,
definitely. So just following on from that, and how you were mentioning about value add, and that is really what we try to do at Regent. I even as we grow, I don't think we'll ever be this very selective college that only takes students with A grades, and we want to get them up to A star. Because that's not really what we are. We are, we're very open to meeting students from all walks of life, whether it's international or domestic. And the interview with you is probably the most important part of the application process, isn't it? When you meet that person individually and counsel them.
Yeah. So I would meet every student individually, and where possible, if the subject teachers are free, we would also get the subject teachers to meet them, because the main thing for us is to make sure we're giving the right advice to the students, to make sure that we're giving them a realistic chance of eventually getting the best grades that they can, to make sure that the courses are suited to them. Sometimes they would choose courses and not really know what those courses are about. So in-depth discussions with the subject tutors, that helps as well. Now, some students may come in to us with a good recit grade and just want slightly better, and that's all well and good, and we will help with that as well. But it's right to say we look at a whole range of people. If students are, less academically able, we can still help them get the grades that will enable them to go on to the next stage of their journey. So, for example, one student last year wasn't aiming at very high A-level grades. He wanted to go to flight school back in his home country, so he wasn't looking at top A-level grades in a Russell Group university, but he got the grades he needed to go back to flight school in his home country. And also, while most of our students will be going on to university, a small number, I've got one student this year who, as well as applying to universities, is applying to apprenticeships. But it's actually, he's applying for a very prestigious apprenticeship at British Aerospace. We normally help students with UCAS, but we will help him in the same way. So we'll see what he needs and we'll help him into that. So while university destinations are probably the aspiration for most of our students, some other students may want to take other paths and we'll help them as much as possible there. But we will take students who need a bit more help. We've got the support on offer to add the value. Students whose first language isn't English, for example, I've got one student in this case at the moment, she gets extra lessons. We call them English for academic purposes, and those lessons are to help her in her other subjects, and actually they will improve her general level of English. Her English is good, but she needs the technical level of English to cope well in her subjects and to succeed in her subjects.
And I think that's really important. This generally is an international webinar, so the people on the call will be thinking about bringing in international students to Regent. So I think one thing to mention at the moment is that we have more UK nationals and domestic students than we do international students, which is great for the international students because they're mixing with native speakers and British pupils, British students. A lot of the tutorial colleges in London and outside London are very international in their nature. In fact, some of them 80–90% international, I would say, and you don't really get then that British tutorial college feel. So I'm not promising 1-2 years from now the balance will always be like that, but at the moment for international students to come in, it's a very kind of native English speaking environment at the which is great.
But it's an environment which is it's an environment which is also very welcoming to international students.
Yes.
At the moment, the mix is a very good mix. It's mostly home UK students from a range of backgrounds, and a smaller number of international students. That number of international students will grow, but the mix, I think, is likely still to be very good for the next number of years. It is good that we're attracting home students as well as international students, and it's also true to say that international students welcome the fact that they can integrate well with the British students as well. I think it's a very good mix here.
Good. Let me ask you one more question, and then we'll see if other people have questions for you. Either our partners, our overseas partners that recruit for us, or maybe some of the internal sales and recruiters have a question for you as well. So, traditionally people will take GCSEs, level 2 qualifications before they come through to A levels, but we all know the last few years, and there's this phrase disrupted education that we hear all the time. So what advice could you give to partners or parents that their child has had disrupted education? Maybe they've had to go online for half of their course, maybe the online wasn't working, maybe they just feel very kind of insecure or not ready to go on to a level 3 qualification because of their last 1 or 2 years. How would you counsel someone that came to you with these kind of fears or concerns?
Yeah, actually, many of the students in my previous school and a few of the students I'm meeting here, that's exactly what's happened to them. So we have experience of students whose education has been interrupted. So it's not a surprise to us. And I think we've gained a lot of experience in a short space of time. I think we always had students like this, but we've gained the experience of, more students coming to us who need this kind of help. But I think the small group sizes actually help with this too. So the transition from, perhaps learning online, perhaps not having consistent education in larger groups, coming into our small groups, and some of the groups are really quite small. I think that's a good transition for them, and gradually their confidence will build as well. I would also say that if they're coming in on 2-year programs, there's plenty of time to get them back into the momentum of full-time education. And we have the pastoral support here. Pastoral means the support in addition to teaching. So that's when you have a person, we have a director of studies here, and I also get involved in this myself. We give them support alongside their studies, to make sure that they're coping with their studies. We meet them regularly to see that they're settling in. We communicate frequently with parents and so on. So I think, while it may be daunting for students who've had a disrupted education, I think we've got plenty of support on offer to ease them back into full-time study. I do think that face-to-face education is what they themselves want. Occasionally, and we are well equipped for it, if we have to go online, another pandemic, anything like that, we're ready for that. But I don't think we'll have extended periods of online learning anymore. But I do know that small colleges like Regent, the last place I was in too, actually, because we were small, we were very flexible and very agile and able to switch over to online education quite smoothly, in terms of the type of teaching that was on offer. So while some institutions may just have said to students, right, here's all the work, here it is all online, more or less get on with it yourselves. I know that Regent, I know in my previous place, what we did is we continued the lessons as though they're ordinary lessons. They just happened to be online. So it was still virtual face-to-face teaching. So a lot of the main thing, Steve, is a lot of support, I would say, a lot of empathy, and a lot of experience in dealing with cases like that.
Yeah, I think the word support is key. The size that Regent is at the moment, and the staff student ratio. So whether they're international students or domestic students that have had disrupted or interrupted education, the support is just quite incredible, I would say, at Regent. And just to pick up on what you were saying there about digital learning, I mean, I hope to God that we never go back to another pandemic. But Regent, as part of a larger organisation, we're actually pretty much, I would say, the leaders in the UK in digital delivery, and a lot of our degrees at higher education are delivered digitally, actually not for the international students, but for the home students. So we have 3 kinds of delivery that we participate in at Regent, and it's digital, online, in person, and on demand. So just like that, we could just flip very quickly back to online. The students would be happy in some ways because they're so much more tech savvy than we are. I think, and Regent generally is a paperless organisation. So within the classrooms, they've all got interactive whiteboards. Students have their smart devices or laptops, and that goes throughout the whole organisation, whether we are in the tutorial college here with A-levels, or through to higher education. So we've got a question from Zainab, and I know she's been very patient. She's had her hand up, but she asked a question about the foundation course. So that's also a level 3 qualification. So I'll answer that, Sean, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Because I know more about the foundation programs, or as much as I do about A-levels. So we do offer a foundation program, but it's NCUK foundation program for international students. The next course starts in January, at the beginning of January. There are usually 2 intakes in the year, September and January. So the next intake will be January, and that's following 2 streams. That's following business and humanities, and you can get all the information on NCUK on our website, which is the Regent College London website. We have two websites, actually. We have the Regent Independent College and we have Regent College London. So the NCUK information sits with higher education, which is rcl.ac.uk. I'll put the link in the chat box for you in a second, so you can see that. Repeat the foundation. Yeah, we just need to be, that would be a compliance question for UKVI as well. So we just need to, when the level is the same, level 3 to level 3, we just need to do a bit more digging and understand exactly why the student wants to do that qualification. So as long as it satisfies UKVI requirements, then yes, the student would be able to come to us and do the NCUK course. So we can be in touch with you separately about that, about NCUK. So that was a good question. Thank you. Who else do we got? Is that Amina with her hand up?
Zainab has a question about payments, Steve, so maybe you can take that too.
Oh, question about payments. Sorry. Yes, it can be in installments. Yes, absolutely. Yes. So termly payments. So we have 3 terms. So you can just pay every term. So if you're paying full fees, it would be 6,000 something per term, or if there's a scholarship or a bursary, you would just take that off, and then we would divide that into 3. So we don't require the full fees in advance for the tutorial college. You can pay termly, and if you're under 18, yes, you do need IELTS. You need to have a self-secure English language test, and that's a UKVI requirement. Amina, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Hi, Sean. Hi, Zainab. Nice
Hello,
to meet
Amina.
you both. Yeah.
Nice to meet you as well.
I wanted to confirm the January IFY is happening definitely, because we're talking about it seriously now.
Yes.
Can I take applications?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. For Nigerian students on the IFY, can we have a payment facility? What facility can we have? Nigeria, this is.
So, and you're talking specifically about the foundation program.
I'm talking. I think we will go specifically, but course by course. So we'll probably have something for A level, something for IFY, something for PG. So we'll talk individually, yes, because the student quality will vary from PG to IFY, won't it? So I think one size fit all might not be good for us.
Yeah. So with the,
for example,
with the tutorial college, you know, with the tutorial college, the way that we take payments is termly, and that's quite standard across the A-level industry. For NCUK program, it would just be the same as we have set up with the other payments. So you pay a certain amount before the visa, and then I think it's 50%, 25%, 25%. So that would be the same. But we're not going to do the same. A-levels is a bit more flexible. It's just the way that the A-level industry works. You pay termly. Private schools have existed for, I don't know how many years, 100 years plus, probably, and that's just how it works. You pay termly payments, but higher education,
so it's the same.
Foundation is different.
For IFY, UG, PG, it's the same for Nigeria, I can say.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Exactly. So and that's why it sits on the RCL website. That's why it still sits on the higher education website, because it's more of a higher education program.
Okay.
Like leading
One more
through
question I had. If a student misses this October for A level, when is the next cohort they can join? I know you said it's flexible, but we want to.
Yeah, well,
not clear enough.
Well, I mean, Sean will say, you know, and it's the interview, isn't it, Sean? But if you interview a student and they're ready to start and we've got a class, we can just accept them almost any time, I suspect, can't we?
I would say, Amina, if it were a 1-year student,
it will always be 1 year.
Oh, okay. So the later they join, perhaps the less chance they have of getting the best grade they need. However, if they're, you know, for example, if it's a resit student or something like that, they might be able to join later. And I'll give you a couple of examples. We have some people joining us in January who are joining existing groups, but they're just joining us from January to June because they only they've got quite good grades already. they may have work experience, they may have expected to get better grades, they may have work experience already lined up in the autumn term, so they want to join us in January, really just more or less to revise
Okay, no, so
and
that
get some extra
that will
teaching.
not work then. That
Yeah,
will
well,
not work. So
it depends. So, for example, if you have somebody now who's, you know, quite a good student who wants to join for 1 year on a 1-year course, it's still possible. So we're flexible in that sense.
that's what I'm talking about. If they miss this October, is it next October? Because they have to sit the exam in May.
Oh no, so yeah, so it's
They
May,
have to
June
study.
when they
It's
sit their
not a
exam.
matter of revising. They have to study.
Yeah, yes.
So it will be next
They're
October.
studying from
next
the whole
September.
Yeah. So
okay, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify that.
But we do, I mean, the important thing is we do take students during the year. Then also,
yes, but these are high school students, and they will need to study to get through this program. We don't want to bring them and then struggle. I would rather sell the IFI. If we have the IFI in January, we'll sell the IFI.
This is where the advice comes in. This is where meeting the students, finding out what they need and what they want, and what's reasonable as well. What we certainly don't want to do, Amina, I think is what you're saying, is set them up for failure. We want the students to succeed. We want to give them the best advice.
Unless they have done something academic wise after high school, yes, then we'll talk to you. You can meet the student. I think it's my common sense here. If they're high school students, they will need to study some months to sit the exams. So okay, that's fine. I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Now, what I would say though, and more broadly, I mean, in case this is useful for other people, if we have 2-year students, it's much less of an issue. So with 2-year students, if they wanted to join us October, November, January, and so on, we've got time to make up what they've missed. We've got time to plug the gaps.
In an ideal world, don't have
an
anything
ideal
like
world,
that.
But that does happen. I mean, and I mean, maybe not some of the students you see, but some of the students the others who are listening might see.
I would like to. Yes, I would like to.
And I certainly have had students like I've had students like that in the past, and we would expect students like that here as well. So basically, I think what the message I'm really sending out is flexibility on our part too. But you're exactly right. We have to give the right advice to students. You know, and even within the last week, I would say I've given very similar advice where I'm saying that if somebody's coming to, you know, if somebody's deciding whether to come for 1 year or 2 years, I'm saying by far the safest route for you is 2 years. You are not going to achieve if you're going to try and cram this all into 1 year. So, you know, that's just a real example of the advice that's been given.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think, it's about counselling, isn't it? And we've stressed the importance of the interview, and for me that's definitely the most important part. And you can almost call it not an interview actually, but a counselling session, because we definitely would not accept a student if we knew it wasn't the right advice for them. Regent is not that kind of organisation, and if it's a 1-year A-level course and they're wanting to arrive too late, then, you know, Sean just wouldn't advise that, because we want our students to pass, right? We want them to get on to a better place and go on a journey. Shahina's got a question.
Hi everybody, I'm Shahina, Head of Admissions at RIC. I just wanted to add something to what you mentioned with regards to the fees. Correctly paying termly. However, for a student who would require a CAS, meaning they will need a visa, they will need to pay a deposit of 1 term's fees to be able to for the CAS to be issued, and then the termly CAS, the termly fees are paid each term in advance. The deposit that the student will pay will then go towards the last term of the course. That will be deducted at the end of the course for that last term.
Good, thank you. And so she would be the contact person for any agents or partners that have got questions about fees, UKVI, visa, anything like that. Shahina would be able to answer your questions. Good, thank you. Are there any more questions? They never had a question about the language result, if it's lower than requirements. do you offer the extended course? So I think probably you mean like a pre-course, Zainab. Do you mean like doing English support pre-session or before? So we do actually, and we do have an internal English program and course. It's called Click English. It is our own at Regent, so we can send you details about that. And that will get the students up to the required level. However, because this is below degree level and it's a level 3 qualification, the students will always need a CELT, a secure English language test. So we can support them in advance, help them prepare for one of the secure English language tests. And it doesn't have to be IELTS. There are lots of secure English language tests out there. IELTS is probably the gold standard. It's the one that everyone knows about and speaks about, first of all, because it's owned by Cambridge and designed by Cambridge. But yeah, there are other tests that would be suitable. And about accommodation, yeah, I mean, I've had this question 1,000 times in the last 10 years, host family or residence, and it really just depends upon the student and what the parent wants for the student as well. If the student is 16 and they're leaving home for the first time and they want to go into a more family environment, then I think probably I would suggest a host family because they get a bit more care. And we work with an agency that would be able to recommend host families. But if it's like A-level retakes and the student is already 17, 18, 19, possibly, then maybe a residence is more suitable for them, a bit more independent, would provide breakfast, for example, or self-catering, like kitchen style. So we would be able to, give you offers for both, or work with agencies that we work with. And I think, yeah, it just really depends on the student and the parents. Slightly younger, I think host family might be better, maybe for the first 6 months, host family. And then once they've found their feet and they've become a bit more oriented in the UK, they could then move to a student residence. But yeah, it's a very subjective question. And you've got a question about BA and master's programs. Yeah, so we don't offer those at the independent college. That's just A levels. But Regent College London has a full program of undergrad and postgrad courses, and I'll put in the chat box the website for you to have a look at those for the international students. And Regent College London, again, yeah, has domestic students and international students. But the international students, as you know, they have to be on campus, right? Because that's a requirement of their visa. So we don't do the digital teaching for international students. That has to be on campus, either where we are today, which is Great Titchfield Street next to Oxford Circus, or the other campus that we have in central London is Holborn. So it's about a 10-15 minute walk from here. But we'll make sure that you have all of that information. Good. Any other questions from anyone? We're getting close to an hour, so thank you all for your patience so far and your listening ears. If there is no one else, thank you, Sean. That was great. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Stephen. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, it's great to meet you properly.
Thank you. And any questions you don't think of now and you think of later, please feel free to ask me directly. I think most of you would have my contact details already, or if you don't, if you feed them through Steve, and I can answer those questions. Yeah, we're very responsive at Regent, so if you've got any questions for us, just send an email and we'll get back to you very quickly. And there's the website links for you, Zainab, in the chat box. So thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for joining, and I wish you all a very good day.